Geekly. This week, we're going to talk about Elemental, Grand Theft Auto remasters, and Mike's Nutsack. And now the owner of said sack, Mike Indeglio.
What is up, team? Welcome to K&M Geekly, just a sneak peek at two geeks talking about some of the things, getting them through their week, got them through last week. It's Monday. We're dropping them like it's hot, like hot nuts on the subway from Nuts Enough. What's the Nuts for Nuts?
Nuts for Nuts. Nuts for Nuts.
That smell in New York that is pleasant and also disgusting. Depends on your mood. Depends on your placement. Keith, as always,
there are definitely times where Nuts for Nuts can save your butts because, like, you're having like a blood sugar crash. You don't want to spend any money. You're walking down the street. You're late to a meeting. Bag of Nuts for Nuts.
They always smell better than they taste. But
of course,
that varies in degrees. Keith, how you doing this week? What's on the docket this week as it is Monday? What do you look? What's the barrel you're looking down?
Oh boy, let me tell you. Well, I'm going to go visit some friends next weekend. I'm very excited about that, and I am, I'm charging forward, working on my new little show there, getting some
that's exciting.
Some demos working on all sorts of stuff.
I guess I can't really talk about it because it's not a real. It hasn't manifested fully yet, so I won't give any spoilers. But I did hear some, and I was giddy. I was giddy, Keith.
It's really going to be something. I have been chain watching the subject of the musical, and it's really something. My notes look like the notes of a serial killer. So,
I think I might have found us as an aside. I think I might have found my song of the summer.
Oh, do tell.
Well, here's the thing. I don't want to love it because anyone who knows me or anyone who's went to a wedding in the past 6 years. I don't know. There's this song, shut up and dance with me. Right. It's by an artist or a band. I believe it's a band. Walk the Moon is their name. And
sure.
Can't hate the player. I mean, they're making all the gajillion dollars. It's one of those songs you're like, I think it's time for this song to die, but it never does die.
I think it's going to be with us.
So I'm running this morning before the show, and the song comes on, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's got a beat. It's like, can you handle my love? And it's like, there's a cool beat, and I'm like, it's like about it's about young kids, Keith, and they're doing drugs and falling in love, as kids do, living their best lives. It definitely does not apply to me in any way.
Which is why I don't have children, because I'm already getting nervous.
Does not apply to me in any way, shape, or form. And I'm like, yeah, but this song is kind of a banger, and I might put it on my mix, and I should show Jen because she's going to like it. And I look down, and damned if it isn't by that same band, Walk the Moon. They've done it again. God bless these guys. They know how to write just a great hook that repeats and repeats and repeats. And I think there's like a verse, maybe. You know how music is these days. Anyway.
I do.
Can You Handle My Love by Walk the Moon, a song I'm ashamed that I'm loving as much as I do. Wow. It might be my song of the summer so far. Doing drugs is not something I can even do anymore. I mean, that was fun while it lasted in your 20s, but it's I just like to sleep too much. Anyway,
yeah, I mean, you and I had very different 20s.
That is accurate, although we did spend a good portion of our 20s together.
Yes, but there was like a certain point in the day where our paths diverged.
I guess so.
I took the lonelier road.
And I just got bronze. Anyway, Keith, I'm still rocking the movies. Been going to the movies quite a bit. Yesterday, I went to the movies yet again with a dear friend of mine, Mason Stoller, who happens to be 5 years old, Keith.
Oh, yeah.
And because he's 5, he has an attention span that doesn't quite always rock the movies.
So you went to see Oppenheimer.
We were talking. Actually, I'm going to see Oppenheimer tomorrow, thanks to K&M Geekly. Got me a press screening.
Oh, that's right.
Because we're professional reviewers.
No, that's not at all. It's because they have very low standards for press.
Well, I mean, that's one way to say it. I was like, do I need to show you any sort of fruit from this screening? They said no, as long as you can say that you are press. I was like, oh yeah, it's 100%.
Oh yeah,
there are tens of people who would.
Look, I'm theater press, and even I have been theater press for 14 years, and I still have imposter syndrome taking free tickets.
So I will chime in with my Oppenheimer review a week late than all the other reviews that pop in. Anyway, so we were going to go see The Little Mermaid, but The Little Mermaid is slowly trickling out of the main theaters around us. which means I guess it's going to be showing up on your Disney Plus soon.
You'd think she'd be watertight,
You would think. You would.
but they're trickling out. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Then we were going to go see Across the Spider-Verse. That was our second pick, but they said, I think that's a little too long for him to sit through. To which I said, I think it's the same exact running time as Little Mermaid, but I'm neither here nor there on it. What about Elemental? Jen and I try to go see all the Pixars. We love the Pixar films, have always been a Pixar fan. The last one I saw, I skipped the Turning Red one. I do still want to check it out, but last one we saw was Luca, which was a few years back. Absolutely adored Luca. I had heard sort of middling things about this last one, Elemental, and well, that's interesting.
Wow, we just winked out of existence.
Oh, that's really weird.
That's probably helpful.
Let me do this. Hey!
Oh, look at that.
So, I think that, the criticism recently has been that Pixar has been a little derivative of their own work lately. And I can understand that with this movie because, I think what was that one where with all the emotions?
Inside Out.
Inside Out, which also had an anthropomorphized sort of fiery anger red flame guy, which it does sort of harken to this main character who is Ember Lumen is her name. And
I get it.
Her head is also fire, Keith. So I could see where you could, call that derivative of your own work. But I think that is such an undue criticism because one thing I've always loved about Pixar is that much like A24, who is an independent kind of production company that chooses and allows their creatives just a great ton of freedom to make the movie they want to make. I've always felt that, with the exception of the sequel factory that they have to run for money, i.e. your Toy Stories and your Cars and stuff, which all still end up being decent movies. Every different Pixar movie brings a different theme with different visual style and audio style and all kinds of things. I'm just a big fan. And so I was upset to learn that this wasn't doing great, but then checking at the domestic box office, these Disney films, these Pixar films have legs, and it has crept up. So as the box office exists today, the domestic box office, this is before Oppenheimer and Barbie drop, which I think are going to be pretty big hits. At least I think Barbie will be. I don't know if Oppenheimer's going to make the money because it's 4 hours long and you can't bring your kids to it. So that, we'll see. We will see how it shakes out. But anyway.
He's got a pretty decent track record.
Yeah,
at the
Nolan
box
does.
office.
And I think Barbie's going to be a hit. Anyhow, Pixar, their Elemental is sitting at 7 in the top 10 of the box. So it's cracked the top 10. It's up there. And Mission Impossible is not performing as
Nothing
much.
is doing particularly well other than Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse
this whole
and
summer.
Guardians of the Galaxy is right under Spider-Verse. So they're still doing okay. So anyway, Didi, get down, buddy. So anyway, we go to see Elemental. Hour 46 runtime. It stars Leah Lewis as the aforementioned Ember Lumen, and Mamadou Athie as Wade Ripple, Ronnie Del Carmen as Bernie Lumen, and there was one voice I recognized with Catherine O'Hara who plays Brooke Ripple. And then just a great voice cast from top to bottom. And let me just get to the point here. We loved it. The kid sat through it the whole time. He really enjoyed himself. And my wife and I the other thing that often you'll hear criticized about Pixar films is that they are written formulaically in order to make you cry, right? The tearjerker moments are sort of...
It's part of their brand. Part of their
yes.
brand is the tearjerking.
They're like mathematically equated to make you cry at certain times. And maybe that's true, but I've always found, and in this movie it stands true, that I don't care if that's the case if you earn those moments, right?
Sure.
If I don't feel manipulated and I don't feel like you ham-fisted them in there, then I'm totally fine with it. So what am I looking for? Within the first 10 minutes, well, goes without saying, the animation is insane. Obviously, it's the two main characters here. One is fire, one is water. And so you can imagine if you've ever looked at a candle, Keith, or you've ever looked at a puddle, or you've ever looked at a candle near a puddle or a glass of water, there's all kinds of physics and reflections. And when she gets close to him, do little particles in his hand start to boil? Yes. Do you see steam releasing? Yes. So there's all of that kind of a magic taking place in the animation, but also it takes place in this other world I'm going to be very careful about spoilers because I think some of the magic is just the universes they create. It's a world where certain elements are separated into different societies. It is not so subtly making allusions to the immigrant experience and coming to a new land and trying to stake out on your own and then creating something from nothing and then wanting to leave it to your children. And do your children want that? Or your children who are now native to a land, do they want to take on your ties to your homeland and to the things you've built for them? And what is legacy? And all kinds of adult questions. But on top of that, there's like a fun, comedically based adventure film that takes place. I think the acting is incredible. I think just the universe that is created of what would a Watertown look like versus like Fireville versus the plant life. What is the biodiversity? What is all those questions? And Pixar really goes for it. More astoundingly to me are the just incredible mashups they take musically in this film. There are elements of, I don't even want to place the racial or immigrant musical styles I thought I picked out because they are mashed up into a wholly unique original type of sound. So I don't even want to parse them out too much, although you will catch flavors of things you've heard from different cultures. But it's also mixed with this kind of synth vibe and this sort of almost hip hop / beat kind of stuff. It's very unique. The score is absolutely incredible. There's almost no English language. It's almost entirely instrumental and atmospheric. But there are some, I can't tell if it is any specific language or if it's an invented language. I'm guessing the latter because it's the homeland of where Ember's family comes from, I think. I don't know, but that's just the vibe I got anyway. So it really was a home run on all levels. And what it does also that I really appreciate is that one thing Pixar shies away from, I don't know if they do it cognitively or if it's just something that is, they put their focus on other things, but they don't generally do the boy meets girl love story. That's not a thing you generally see in Pixar films. They focus on friendships, familial relationships, things like that. This is the first time I can remember recently, where they do a straight up water meets fire love story. But they obviously come from very different families, and from literature, we know that generally doesn't go great, Keith. And so will things work out? We'll have to see. What's the meet cute? But this is really great because she is sort of the very dominant personality in this film, and he is a very I would say not toxically masculine character. It's quite the opposite, and his sensitivity is celebrated in this film and celebrated and supported by his family, which I think is a great bit of representation when it comes to
look, if the slightly rounded sensitive nerd can get the girl, there's hope for me.
Yeah, there you go. I just think it's a bit of and it's never played, well, it is played kind of for laughs, but it's never what's the word? He's never condescended to. And then in those last moments, I turned to Jen and I was like, he's gonna such and such. He's gonna such and such. And then we both began to ugly cry and laugh at the same time because we predicted it coming. We're like, here it comes. Here comes the train. It's gonna hit us. It's gonna hit us. And then it hit us, and we laughed and cried and laughed and cried some more. And the pacing was just whip smart. I can't wait to watch it again. Anything you've heard about Elemental that might be on the negative side because people are loving to hate on Pixar right now or whatnot, I say throw that out the window. If you've got kids, I think they'll love it. I think if you've got a heart or any sort of a soft spot for rom-coms, I think this is one of the best I've seen recently. Incredible visuals, incredible ideas, just a gajillion ideas on the screen. Just a really great film, and I'm sure it will be on Disney Plus before you can blink 3 times. So if you can't make it to the theaters, although we should support these theatrical releases because I think Pixar should keep putting movies into the theaters. Either way, you can catch it. Check out Disney Pixar's Elemental. Mike gives it a double thumbs up, and so does CEO Jen, and so does Mason, who saw it with us.
Well, I mean, most importantly, obviously.
He turned to me, Keith, so cute. He turned to me about midway through, and he goes, "Aren't we having the best time?"
Oh my God.
And I was like, well, I am now, buddy. I am.
Well, now your heart is melted.
Yeah.
I haven't seen. I'm looking at the list here. I haven't seen a Pixar since Finding Dory.
You didn't see Luca?
No, I haven't
check
seen
Luca out. You gotta check.
I haven't
Luca
seen
out.
any of these.
And I hear Turning Red is really good too. I just haven't had a chance to check that out yet.
I saw WALL-E. I saw Ratatouille. I loved Ratatouille. Nemo. The first 3 Toy Stories I've seen. But that's it. You know, you don't have kids and not even Cold Dead Heart. You know.
Yeah, well, those are two strikes against, Keith, but doesn't mean we can't come back from it.
True enough. Well, good fun.
Good fun. Really enjoyed it.
Go out and see Elemental. Yeah, so it's funny. Like every week, Mike texts me on Monday morning. What are you talking about? And I do. We were talking before we got on the air. I don't consume nearly as much media as Mike does. But more than that, I don't consume stuff right when it comes out. I'm like content to be rewatching something from the 90s, or from my childhood. I'm much more nostalgia based. I'm much more backward looking than I am trying to keep up with anything cool right now. And I'm also like delighted to wait for the movie to come out on Disney Plus.
Totally.
Right. Yeah. before I go see it. But I realized I have been, speaking of going back and doing something, revisiting something nostalgic, because of the generosity of my dear co-host, I'm now the proud owner of an Xbox S, the latest generation of Xbox, which allowed me, and subscribing to Game Pass, so I was able to go back and play through Grand Theft Auto 5 again, but for the first time on the upgraded system with the upgraded graphics, and it got me thinking about the upgrading your prior properties, and specifically Rockstar doing that, because I've certainly have a long history with the Grand Theft Auto. I played the original like PC one where it was just like top down over a little Matchbox car, like running around. I really liked that game on the PC, and it's interesting to play them again today. And they've done a lot of remastering of the the early properties. So they just released a 3 set of like Vice City, and basically the first person ones up to but before 4, and they've all been pretty disappointing because and I don't think I played. I got back into the series in 4. So I didn't really play through the previous ones, 3 and Vice City and all that kind of stuff. And so, but I'm like, oh my God, this is great. The remaster, I'm going to go play them, and it's going to be really fun. But their remastering philosophy for those original that 3-pack release, I think they got it wrong, because they basically just sort of slightly upscaled what was already there, which was really thin at that point, because it had to be, right? I mean, it was on a much earlier technology and the consoles couldn't handle it, but it really didn't feel. I mean, obviously, you're playing an old game. I'm not expecting it to be like Grand Theft 5, but it felt not remastered enough that it just, like, I don't know, it wasn't nearly as immersive and as fun. And I think that as these games have progressed, what makes it exciting is the immersion of it all, is that we're so close to photorealism and we're playing with it. And so I was disappointed in those early ones. But coming up on 5...
Well, a lot of those too, just to make a point, a lot of them are ported from their mobile ports. So they gave them kind of an upscale in paint to bring them over to mobile, because Take-Two is big on getting all the money from all the places, and so some of those are old games ported to mobile, then ported to device.
And it felt kind of cheaply done, quickly done, and I think philosophically, if you want me to pay for a game again, like, I need a little bit more effort into it than what they did. And I'm not saying you like rewrite and do the whole game, because I want you to like do the new game.
Keith, we're kind of losing your audio here, buddy.
Oh, Am I getting quiet or am I
just
getting
like
crackly?
literally, you're just cutting in and out like entirely.
That's very odd.
Okay, you sound okay now. That's okay.
I'm
All right.
okay now? All right. Anyway, so I was disappointed by those. However, now playing Grand Theft 5 on the next gen system
And you have played 5
Um,
before.
multiple times.
Okay.
I loved 5.
Mhm.
And so I've played through the entire story mode because again, I do not like the online. I don't want to have to wait for some random 12-year-old who's going to bully me to go on some mission, right? I get social anxiety doing missions with strangers online and Xbox. Like I can't do it. I don't want to do it. Leave me alone. I want to play by myself. So I played through the story mode a bunch of times. And the upgrade to the graphics for the next gen console is remarkable.
It's real good.
And it's really, really good. It's subtle, right? It's not like you can tell, oh, immediately we're in this whole other world, but the sense of immersion, basically the cars and landscape, the humans, I don't think they did a huge amount of upgrade on that. I mean, it's still, it's the game is now 10 years old, which is crazy.
Mhm. January 2015, I believe it came out.
It was 2013. Look it up. Anyway, so the actual
2013.
Yeah. The people models are like, it's not that much better. But the world, right? The buildings, the cars, all of that kind of stuff is so much better and so much more immersive. So this playthrough that I'm doing now has been really fun, even though I know all the missions, I've done all the stuff. It's really exciting to see what they're able to do now with just upgrading all the texturing, because because really we have the obstacle to photorealism isn't the ability to have photorealistic textures. It's the processing abilities to be able to access that fast enough to as you're driving down a street at 100 miles an hour, to be able to keep stuff spinning fast enough. And these new consoles are now able to do it, and it is really exciting.
And we're not far from, having the internet bandwidth to have all of that being taking place elsewhere, and your box at home just streaming that information in, so all of those calculations are happening elsewhere, and so there's no barrier. It's not even you have to fit it all on a disk anymore or whatnot. It's we're on the precipice. One thing interesting to note, if you're interested in any of this, what is taking place on PC over the past since 2013 with the mods, community mods, and advanced textures and advanced reflections and things. You can go on YouTube and just Google GTA 5 mods and look what people are able to do. It's pretty crazy. And the campaign, I would say, is pretty fun too. Just some fun anecdotes, Keith, since you brought up this game. It was released in 2013, as Keith said. As of May of this year, it has sold 180 million units, which for a video game is absolutely just blows these things. Now, you get into your shooty shoots and there's all different things with your Call of Duties and whatnot, but $180 million. Now, they also have a thriving online community. Keith mentioned he's not into it, nor am I, but that online community has continually releasing content, has an active player base, has its own economy, which is completely... Keith, if you had to just venture a guess as to how much... they don't release all of the grosses, but estimated income revenue generated from GTA 5 alone since 2013, if you had to guess.
I know that it launched, I think it made $1 billion in its first weekend, which makes it bigger than any movie property. It's bigger than Star Wars. It's bigger than whatever. I think it has a budget that matched that as well. But let me guess. I'm going to guess at close to $4 billion in total.
So this is absolutely insane. So $6 billion total is estimated.
Jeez. Wow.
$6 billion, which is more than they sold Disney for, or Lucasfilm for.
Right. The entire Star Wars verse.
It is estimated Grand Theft Auto 5 still makes $15,000 every 10 minutes and approximately $25 million every 10 days. $1 billion a year.
Unbelievable. I mean, but the reason why is why I'm playing it through a third time now. and I'm still finding new things. I'm still, I don't know if they've added some things from, with the remaster, tiny little story elements or not. But it is so detailed and so layered and so endlessly playable. There's so many different things that, 6 is coming out in a year or so, maybe. And it's going to be absolutely colossal. So anyway, it's obviously this is not news, but I want to tell one quick story about my relationship with Grand Theft Auto 4.
I think one of an input somewhere you have is loose.
I don't know, man.
Because remember, I was hearing that the dying of a cable earlier. Sorry, but those listening, I'm sure you're throwing.
Yeah, I thought it was on. I heard a little crackle here and there. I thought it was on your end. Everything's in all right.
Yeah, you're back now. Tell your anecdote while I can understand what the hell you're saying.
All right. Anyway,
sorry.
Yeah, so Grand Theft Auto 4 came out late April 2008. And I was so excited about this because it took place in New York City. Obviously, a Greek version of it, but they basically built out a map of New York City, including Queens. Yep. Vice City, including Queens, where I lived. I could literally drive a bus into the Astoria Park pool, which I walked to every day at that point, which was really cool. But so I actually went to an event for the launch of that game. And stood outside trying to win a free Xbox or whatever. And I got this little key. I went and tried to turn it was a whole thing. But it was, so that was fun. But the kicker is, so this is April 29th of 2008 when it came out. Mike, do you have any idea what happened on May 8th, 2008? Just a week and a couple of days later? A colossal event in my life that had long-lasting repercussions?
May 8th, 2008. No.
That is the day I got fired.
Hey!
In real life. I did two things immediately upon getting fired and going home with my fired box. I wrote the opening number to the musical. I got fired. Right away, immediately that day, sent it to my old boss who liked me. And then I was the minute I got that done, I popped in Grand Theft Auto 4, and then I drove down to the exact neighborhood where my office was and caused some mayhem virtually in the game, Grand Theft Auto 4. So it helped me through those first few hours after getting my ass canned, because I could drive from where I lived in Astoria downtown in Manhattan and cause some mayhem to make myself feel better. So I know that this next one is going to be in Miami, and it's going to take another 15 years before they go back to New York. So I'm going to be 70, but I'm excited to
return to Liberty City.
I'm really excited to return to Liberty City sometime before I retire, which I never will do. So
there's rumors that this very year, Keith, we might see a remaster of Red Dead 1, which is the sequel to Red Dead 2, which, yeah. Yes.
Which I'm excited about. That's another one I've played through multiple times. Anyway, Rockstar Games, everybody likes what you're doing. That's why you're the biggest. You are.
I interviewed with Rockstar in Brooklyn twice. I did not get the job either time, but I did interview.
Did you?
Yeah.
For what kind of job?
One was a community manager type position, and the other was to be basically a PA in their mocap studio. But it's really tough to get these really coveted jobs because, first of all, they're $1 billion company, and I have literally no at the time, no experience. Can probably get it. I had to have a better interview this time.
You should definitely, and you should be in the game. We know tons of people in the games.
Yeah, actually, I know a couple people in Red Dead too. Okay, so Keith, awesome video games.
Yes.
I love them. I also have been watching some documentaries on Oppenheimer, and I also started reading the book that the movie is based on, American Prometheus. I don't want to talk about any of those though until I see the movie and talk about the movie. So let's go ahead and jump right into.
Your nutsack?
Well, within the Weekly Rad segment.
Okay,
Keith,
very good.
I'll go first unless you have something teed up.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so I own two. I am a big fan of bags. All right, I like to have, especially living in New York, you always have something with you. And for years and years and years, I just wore a backpack basically everywhere I went. But backpacks, you tend to overpack. They tend to just be bulky, or if you go to a theater and you got to stick them under the seat, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So I had been on the search for basically an EDC, an everyday carry type bag. And Keith,
EDC?
yeah, everyday carry. That's a thing. It's like a small niche on the internet. People discuss like what knives they bring or what little things they carry every day, what cords and whatnot. EDC, it's a thing. If you know, you know.
Wow. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, I went down rabbit holes into this community, and I think we had talked about as you start to get older, you start to realize that the things you decide to spend actual money on, rather than just get the cheapest thing you can find, are generally things that you want longevity in. Sometimes it's worth spending a little bit of money for something you want to last a long time. I found that bags tend to fall into that category. And so I found this company. My first one I bought is probably going on, it was right before I met Jen. So we're talking 11, 12 years at this point. And Keith, if I pull this bag out, it's in the other room, you would recognize it instantly because it's been a feature on my body for over a decade. And it's this American company, creatively entitled Nutsack. As you can see,
also a feature on your body.
Yeah, as you can see that logo down there, it's the little acorn. And when I purchased it, they actually would stitch the name Nutsack onto the logo, and you had to pay an extra $10 to have it not say Nutsack, which I think is pretty awesome. Yeah,
that is phenomenal. I love that.
There was I don't know if she works at the high level of the company, and just because at a startup or small companies, everybody's doing everything. So I don't know if Kim is and Emily, I've worked with both of them, are just work support, or if they're high members in the company. I don't know. I don't mean to place you, but I've worked with a Kim and an Emily for some shipping issues I had way back when. And I just ordered a new bag all these years later, and they're still rocking there. So I'm glad to know that they have a good retention. It's an American-made company. This is one of their big things, and they work in waxed canvas, which is military grade and has been with the American military a long time. But also this nylon, this weathered nylon called Cordera, is a type of, it's like 1,000 whatever. I'm not a textile guy, but it's very durable, scratch resistant. Waxed canvas is water resistant. Cordera is like tactical and waterproof. These are both their things. Their website is nutsack.com. There's no discount code for me. I get nothing. I just am a huge fan of their bags. And after 15 years.
Type that carefully, guys.
12 years, and it's Nutsac. After about 12 years of my bag, I have let me tell you what it's called. Mine is called the Satchel 11. So it's an 11-inch satchel with leather appointments. It's all genuine leather, and they're textiles, and it can fit my iPad. You can get up to a 13. They run a little pricey, so the satchels are $159. And then I just went to this is their first sling bag. So it's a messenger style sling with 4 really high quality zippers, with MOLLE webbing on the inside, so you can, if you know the MOLLE system, which is an organizational system, it's part of EDC, Keith. It's got MOLLE compartments on the inside. I have to tell you, so I spent probably $139, $159 that first bag. 12 years in, this thing, all of the leather is very textured and has patinaed really nicely. I still carry this bag all the time, but now since I drive more, I don't need an 11-inch bag anymore. So I got this sling bag here, which is a little bit smaller, and I'm loving this sling bag. In fact, they shipped me. I decided when I got the waxed canvas that I wanted I wanted to try the Cordera, and so they said, you know what, you're a good customer. We see that you're in our system. We'll take 50% off the other bag if you decide to keep this one. So I gave it to Jen. I got another one 50% off. They just are they're just a good company. You get somebody on the phone when you call them. I've just really loved it. I loved their bag. I wanted to talk about it. I'm loving the new bag. That's it. That's Nutsack, baby.
All right. Well, hey, I actually this week replaced my backpack for the first time. I bought one because God, do you remember? It wasn't a Circuit City, but there was a like computer store up near Columbus Circle.
On the other side by the Starbucks.
I don't know where to start. I don't know where the Starbucks are, but it's right on. It was like this big like triangular shaped store, like giant. It's on the second floor.
Mm-hmm.
Forget what it was. Anyway, I bought my laptop bag there, probably literally 20 years ago.
You're not talking about B&H.
No. It was some. It was like it was a one off. It was an independent big computer store. Anyway, so I splurged and spent like $45 on a computer laptop bag, and that was the one I just replaced this very week.
You gotta get a good bag. You gotta have a good bag.
I didn't PSQ or anything. I just bought a $30 bag. So
right. Well, listen, tell them Mike sent you. If you shop at Nutsack, maybe he'll kick it back to me. Keith, I also wanted to mention real quick, even though before you get to your weekly rad, as kind of a bonus weekly rad for the show, friend of the show, Chris over at CRM Productions, we featured some of his work on yesterday's episode of Star Trek Toys. And he let us know that the creators of Picard were checking out our show and his customs and his channel on Instagram. So we've broken through to the other side, Keith. And I don't know what that means, but it's pretty cool one way or the other. It was a cool little nod that, like, you know, our content gets viewed. Eventually.
Can I write for the show?
Take this opportunity, Keith.
Yes, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to write on season 4, and I'd love to play an engineer or something in the background. I'm happy to, because like we've had more body representation on the show, and I feel like, I've seen myself on the show. I don't look good, but I definitely feel represented. So there it is. So my weekly rad is actually very, very quick, very, very simple. And that is, Mike, other than an instrument and the Pro Tools technology that I use to write music and such, what do you think my number one tool is to write musical theater?
Not counting your piano, you just said, right?
Not counting the piano, not counting the Pro Tools or Sibelius.
Okay, well, that would have been the other thing. Do you have a pen and a grand staff you write on?
No. What I use more than anything else is a website called RhymeZone, which helps. It's a rhyming dictionary. It is also a thesaurus, and that sort of thing, where you just type in a word and it gives you a list of everything that rhymes with it, which is the contemporary version of what Stephen Sondheim always said, that he never wrote without his very specific pencils and his notepad. He did it by hand, and his hard copy rhyming dictionary, and that he used for his entire career. But for me, RhymeZone, it's free, it's fast, it's available everywhere. I am endlessly checking out the rhyming dictionary, rhymezone.com. It's just sitting there. It's old school. It looks like it's on for Netscape 3.1, but who cares?
Yeah, if it works, it works.
It works really well, and I use it constantly. And I think anybody who writes lyrics or poetry, anything needs to rhyme, that's where you should go.
We'll talk more about it at another time, but I did want to point out, since we had brought it up a few weeks ago, that as union members and supporters of the union, that SAG-AFTRA, which is also a sister union to Actors Equity, has joined the WGA in their strike against the studios, asking for, it's not just about give us more money. I think it's unfairly being painted that way in the general mainstream media. This is much more to it, and the demands of the writers, the demands of SAG-AFTRA are not unreasonable. I encourage you to take a peek on the internet. It's not hard to find the breakdown of what's being asked for and the hard no to even discussing these things that is being received. Yeah. I would say it's not the arguments against some of our demands are not in good faith. So I encourage you to check that out. But I want to say that we here at K&M are fully in support of the union
100%.
in this matter.
Yep, 100%.
So, and we will take time to talk about that at another time. But first, I also wanted to point this out because it's just my favorite new thing this week.
I am Dude. It's on the soundboard. That's great.
just one more time.
I am Dude.
Dude's
a Muppet, apparently.
Yeah, check us out. We watch all kinds of Deep Space Nine, all kinds of Strange New World Season 2 on the channel. Check us out below. And if you have even remotely enjoyed any of the content you've seen on our channel, consider checking us out on Patreon at patreon.com/K&M. Keith.
Yes.
Until we see y'all next week, I wanted to just say, hey, do not let anyone yuck your yum. Just keep doing the things you find fun. You work hard, so you should play hard, and we're there with you. Until we see y'all again, from Mike and Keith, keep on geeking on.